a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise.
Welcome back, viewers. Thank you for staying with us on GMT Good Morning Tobago, and we are coming to you live from downtown Scarborough, Port Mall, from the beautiful island of Tobago. If you haven't visited here as yet, make plans soon so you can enjoy what we have to offer. This morning, sitting next to me is Mr. Barry Joefield, and we are going to talk about his weekly podcast talk show. And Mr. Joefield is known as a financial and economic commentator. So good morning, Mr. Joefield.
Good morning, Ms. Nicholson.
Yeah.
Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Tobagonians, wherever you are.
All right, and of course, let's get right into it. Now, this program is relatively new to our Tobago Updates family. Let's talk about the genesis. Why did you see the need to have a podcast talk show dealing with Tobago and its economy?
I've been listening, been paying attention to what is happening in the Tobago space. And I get a sense that there's a lack of understanding of how economies work. For instance, you get a sense that we believe that 5% of the budget is what we should be focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
You never get a sense that there's a focus on revenue generation, how we generate revenue in Tobago to suffice ourselves.
Right.
It's always about somebody else's responsibility. 5% from, we can discuss revenue sharing, but at the same time, even if you have a share of the revenue, what do you do with that revenue when you receive the share of it? You must have some plan, some program, and it's clear to me, there's no plan, there's no program. So it's just, for want of a better word, governance by VAPs. And I think the Tobago population deserves better. They need to hear that there are possibilities. There is a way that we can do this thing, and Tobago can do much better than Tobago is doing now. And just added to that, somewhere in me, because I don't want to be just, critical of things all the time.
Right.
I don't want to present a budget called Are We Budget, which would really speak to some exciting things that I think Tobago can do. So
when you say Tobago, do you mean those who govern Tobago or the people of Tobago in terms of the private sector?
I think the Tobagonians in general,
Okay.
the business persons, the private individuals, and so on.
And I'm asking that because you mentioned Tobago looking at raising revenue.
Sure.
And I know if we look at that statement and we peg it to the Tobago House of Assembly, then we would have a lot of constraints because the Act and the Constitution only allows us so much for the Tobago House of Assembly, whoever sits in the seat of power, to do so much in terms of raising revenue. So that's why I asked, who are they in this case?
But why is that the sense?
Why is that?
Why is that your sensing of it?
No, in terms of what the law is. In terms of what THA has powers to do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But what constrains THA from earning revenue? Apart from, I think it's item 50 that suggests if you earn above the parliamentary allocation, the central government, in other words, would be entitled to 50%.
Okay.
And I don't hear any quibbling about that, even in the context of an autonomy argument. And that's probably the only constraint in my mind.
Okay.
But you get 4.3%, and why can't you work that 4.3% into 6.9% based on your own ability to generate revenue? I'm saying you can do it outside of, the construct of a Trinidad and Tobago economy kind of arrangement. So I'm thinking, there's clear opportunity for Tobago to do it in many areas, and we're just not doing. I think it's, about, in my mind, very simple, in accordance with the plain talk, that we just have lazy politicians who wait for 5%, 4.3%, and argue for more without thinking about what we can do here. In order to generate.
And of course, when viewers look at your weekly podcast talk show, what is to be expected?
All right. So take, for instance, tonight, I would have Dr. Terence Farrell, who is a well-known economist. And he wrote this book on the Unachieving Society. You probably know about it. And it's a microcosm. Tobago is a microcosm of that underachieving society. And try to walk through why Trinidad and Tobago has underachieved. Because he compared as well, and the general comparisons between Norway, Singapore, even Barbados, compared to Trinidad and Tobago. Even now you have Antigua, all these countries are way above in terms of GDP per capita than Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
And it's for the amount of resources that have passed through Trinidad and Tobago, even Tobago, I don't think we are better off for it. In fact, I think we are worse off. And that is why, the first two episodes, I tried to deal with this idea about the Dutch disease and why economies that have natural resources tend to be poor. And it's clear, so that, and even that is not well understood because we continue to focus on more extraction of oil and gas, and we don't understand that in part is the challenge that we have.
Right. And of course, from ever since, we always hear it's time to diversify. Trinidad may talk about it. Tobago, you may hear more of it because, of course, the natural resources were managed on the Trinidad end. And we talk a lot about tourism and encouraging Tobagonians to set up, whether it's cottage industry, whether look at agriculture. Do you think that we can really move away from just the talk about diversifying and do you think that have you seen a move in that direction where there's a greater effort to truly diversify, or is it more still of a talk shop?
Clearly it's more of a talk shop, all right? Because take for instance simply I have a pet peeve about this show that they're having that we can't know who the promoter is, right? But I'm saying you have a show like that. And there's so much you could do in terms of
what show is that? What show?
This Buju Banton show.
You mean for jazz?
Some rhythm and soul show, right? Where they wouldn't tell us who this promoter is that THA is partnering to spend $9.3 million on.
Okay.
And I'm saying, okay, even if you have that, you have one of our strengths, I think, is culinary. If you link culinary strengths, yes, to a show like that. If you link, we have a lot of people producing local wines. We link it to that, and you link the other things to this, some tours in between this. I'm saying putting on a show like that could boost your agriculture sector, it boosts your tourism sector, it can do so much for Tobago if you think about it properly. But it's not about that in my mind. It's about just putting on a show for a show's sake. And I'm saying, these are the issues you have in terms of you spend resources and you don't get the bang for your buck because there is not sufficient thought about the process.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I am no expert. I don't know the behind the scenes. First time I'm hearing of, the promoter is not named. So I'm not getting into that because I don't know enough to comment on it. But just looking at the event and how events are planned, are you then suggesting, because I want to make sure I understand and of course our viewers understand, are you suggesting more layers? So when you have these one-day events, more layers, activities should be tied to it to maximize the spending of the patrons, is it that?
Definitely, because the idea is about this, once a tourist gets here, you try to extract as much as you can of the spending of the dollar that they have to spend.
Okay.
And you set it up in a way that the average Tobagonian benefits from it. So that, this is what I'm saying, you mix the whole idea of the culinary thing, so if you probably had it, let's say somewhere in Charlottesville or whatever, you have the people up there who can cook, you get them involved in that process. You have the winemakers throughout Tobago, you get them involved in that process. You do some tours, you get the tour people to do some tours through the main ridge, maybe before the day before, something like that. You structure the thing in a way that it makes sense. You understand? So that we get a better bang for this $9.3 million that we're spending. When we are finished with it, probably we get 83 million out of
Right.
it.
But
And that's the thinking. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But do you think that the people who are coming to these one-day events or concert, whether it be Buju Banton, whether it be Sinash, whether it be gospel, whomever, are they coming to shop around, or is it that they just coming, they have their tickets, they spend their money to look nice, and they just want to have a good couple of hours, in the event? Because even when you look at the cruise ships, we talk about visitors, you have them coming off, you have some who would book tours, yes, and spend money, but you have a lot of them who just walk through Scarborough. They are offered products, local craft for sale, but they are not interested. They are not spending any money when they visit some of these islands. So is it that you're catering for different types of people? So with that, of course, may be a good idea for something else. But if you're packaging concerts, etc., is it that if you add all of that, it may become too heavy for the patron?
I'll just give you a simple example. So like in Grenada, there's this chocolate, cocoa and chocolate event, right?
Right.
And that runs for a week, yes? And people go there for a week to do that.
Right.
And that's the idea behind packaging the thing.
Right.
So that the person who is coming to this show has a sensing that there is a tour I can do, and if you package it well enough,
right,
they will participate. You don't expect 100% participation, but you will get a significant amount participating in this thing if you package it sufficiently,
right,
that you can extract, your dollar out of it. And I'm saying you don't see the ducks lined up, you don't see the connectivity, you don't see a gelling of the ideas, and so take for instance, you have the Esplanade. Okay. Why isn't it a duty-free shopping area?
Right.
So that when the tourists come, and you organize it in such a way that sometimes the tourists come, well, I see they did something special for Biashara, which I would want to comment on the show tonight.
Right.
But anyway, but you have an opportunity for cultural expression when the tourists come. Every time they come, you put on a cultural event.
Right.
You lead them right into the Esplanade, right into the Rotunda. You offer them some, a snack glass of Carib or Stag or Tobago wine, as the case may be, and you introduce them to our products.
Right.
A small piece of crab and a piece of dumpling on a stick kind of thing, and you introduce them to what we have here, and so on. And that's the way you get the tourists. Okay, so they come for the cruise ship. Okay, I want to visit here because I tasted this. I saw some snippets of Tobago that look nice, and they will want to come back. And that's the kind of thing you do when you have the cruise ships coming, because they're going to be here temporarily, but you want to give them enough of what you have to offer. Limbo dancing on the sticks of fire. I mean, I could imagine a tourist seeing that and saying, but wait, no, this looks very interesting.
Right.
I need to come back to see how this is done.
How do we monetize that though? Because you have in other Caribbean islands, for example, I visited Barbados recently, and all of the local heritage sites, you pay, whether it's $3 Bajan, whether it's $1 US, but you pay something to get into, to enjoy, whether it's the history, the location. But in Trinidad and Tobago, and let's speak about Tobago, that's where we are, you don't have that. You have, and there have been talks of it, and you hear people push back, in terms of the forts, etc. Even when you talk about offering little samples or snippets of Tobago or culture or food. How do we monetize that? Because it's great introducing it to them, but you want the visitors to spend money.
All right. Marketing is a process, right? Because I understand a little bit about marketing.
Right.
So it's
am I taking you off your finance and economics?
You're not actually, because all this has to do with finance and economics.
Right.
The tourism sector.
Right.
So I'm saying, listen, when a tourist comes here, they can have that kind of experience. I'm saying, okay, for me, I would go to a corporate sponsor. Let's say NLCB. I say, NLCB, look, I would like you to sponsor product promotion for local entrepreneurs, because they have local stuff they're going to offer to the tourists and so on. I want you to help us to sponsor that.
Right.
So that, and what you do there, maybe the first 2 or 3 cruise ships, or the first season of the cruise ships, you do it for free.
Right.
Yeah?
Okay.
And then you draw the cruise ship in and say, well, okay, look, listen, we're going to offer this. And what you do is you have a video probably played of it on the cruise ship subsequently when you would want them to pay, so they would see what this experience would be like when I go to Tobago. Oh, this is what I will experience. I want to go there and see this for myself.
Right.
And that's how so it's like a loss leader.
Mm-hmm.
You draw them in and then you have them pay. And I don't think tourists would decline paying for an opportunity like that.
Right.
You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So it's all about how you think about this thing. And I think we are lazy as politicians in Tobago because we don't have to earn to spend. It comes from somewhere else. It's just like the average child or individual. If you don't know where the money comes from, then you just spend it, one of the people I love to hear was Dr. Morgan Job. And he said, well, this idea about accountability. When people have to spend other people's money on other people, the lines of accountability become very blurred because it's not your money you're spending, but you're spending it on other people. So there isn't a sense of ownership of those resources. And we discussed some of that tonight in terms of intergenerational wealth.
Right.
What we do now would determine what our children, grandchildren inherit down the road. And it's as though we don't think about it. And that's one of the reasons I'm here really.
Okay.
My father, he died in 2013. And he said something to me. He said many things. Because it's only after he died I knew his name was Alfred. And you better find out the meaning of the name, right?
Right,
and
yes.
Alfred means sage or wise man. Now, I never knew that while he was alive. But he said to me, Barry, if you're not careful in Tobago, Tobagoans will have to come out of the bush in the night and hunt foreigners. And I found it, what kind of statement is that?
Yes.
But let me tell you something, I'm coming to the awareness that we are going in that direction. And it's part of the angst about intergenerational wealth. What are we leaving for the next generation of Tobagoans? It can't be what they're inheriting now.
And of course, viewers, if you want to hear more about issues and topics like this, I encourage you to join in this evening right here as Mr. Joefield leads his guests through the paces, interesting conversations. It's all about Tobago. You may be able to chime in as well. Share your opinions as well. And what time is it this evening, Mr. Joefield?
We go from 8 o'clock until 9. Trusting they will probably give me a little extra time since I have Dr. Farrell in tonight, take up some of the time. But yes.
All right. So it's Bago Style Plain Talk Weekly Podcast Talk Show and your moderator, Mr. Barry Joefield. And it was just to introduce you viewers to what's happening right here on Tobago Updates Television. We have added another member to our family, and it's all about providing local content, talking about the issues that impact us every day. And of course, we want you to have your say. So thank you for staying with us on GMT. I have been your host, Natalie Richardson, and I remind you, yes, it's Monday. Chanel will be joining you for the rest of the week. She will take us through the paces from tomorrow, Tuesday, until Friday. And I will see you the following week, hopefully, God's willing. So stay safe. It is Monday. Have a productive day. I know some of you have a little hangover of sleep from being in pan, maybe, but shake yourself up. I think Cats in Jammers would have won their title. I hope I am not wrong, but I think I overheard that conversation this morning. And of course, we congratulate all the winners. And for those of you who this is your season and you're flying high, remember to take it easy and be safe. Be considerate to those around you as well who may not be flying as high as you, because not all of us, this is our season. But thank you again for making Tobago Updates Television your home. Do have a wonderful and marvelous Monday.
We are people